Imagine standing on the windswept banks of the Nile over 5,000 years ago, where a warrior king surveys two lands, Upper and Lower Egypt, each with its own traditions, gods, and rival chieftains. This monarch, known to us simply as Narmer, would become the architect of one of history's first nation-states, weaving disparate communities into a single polity that would endure for millennia. If you're intrigued by the birth of civilization and the secrets hidden in ancient artifacts, make sure to subscribe to History Facts and Mysteries. Hit the bell icon to join our community as we unravel the enigmas of our earliest states and the figures who shaped them, from desert warriors to divine kings. Conceptual framework: origins, myth, and state formation. When modern scholars talk about state formation, they often invoke complex theories of social stratification, economic integration, and military coercion. But in prehistoric Egypt, these abstract models find vivid expression in a man who bridged the human and the divine, the martial and the ritual. Narmer's ascendancy represents a juncture where mythic ancestry fused with practical governance. His claimed descent from Horus conferred divine legitimacy, while his battlefield victories established the monopoly of force necessary to compel tribute and labor. Understanding Narmer's enigma thus requires weaving together strands of archaeology, iconography, and comparative anthropology. We must read the sunrise horizon, where the king's name first appears in hieroglyphs, as both a literal inauguration of authority and a metaphorical dawn of centralized power. Narmer's rise, from Upper Egyptian king to unifier of the Nile. In the late pre-dynastic period, Egypt was a patchwork of regional polities. On the flood-scarred plains of Upper Egypt, rulers of Hierakonpolis and Nikyata wielded local influence, their tombs filled with ivory, copper, and imported luxury goods. Into this world stepped Narmer, whose Horus falcon standard appears on pottery and seal impressions across both regions. Whether Narmer marched north with sword and chariot or secured alliances through dynastic marriage remains contested, but material evidence, ceramic styles, burial custom shifts, and settlement patterns attests to a rapid process of consolidation around 3100 BCE. Narmer's name in blue-green faience beads and ivory tags suggests both ritual significance and administrative reach. The Narmer Palette: iconography and propaganda in stone. Carved from a single piece of siltstone, the Narmer Palette stands over 2 feet tall, its paired faces presenting a visual manifesto of power and unity. On one side, the king wears the white crown of Upper Egypt, raises a mace against a prostrate enemy, and gathers papyrus entwined about a symbolic bull. On the reverse, he dons the red crown of Lower Egypt, inspects decapitated foes, and is flanked by intertwined serpopods whose long necks form the palette's central depression. Every element speaks in a hieroglyphic language of conquest, fertility, and cosmic order, yet scholars debate whether the defeated figures represent actual enemies of delta polities or metaphoric forces of chaos subdued by divine kingship. Religion and royal ideology: the divine king and a new kingdom. Narmer's claim to divine sonship is etched into the earliest hieroglyphic inscriptions, his name enveloped by the Horus falcon, his titles aligning him with sky, earth, and underworld deities. This conflation of king and god established pharaonic ideology, where the monarch was at once human ruler, high priest, and living embodiment of Ma'at, cosmic order and truth. Rituals conducted in makeshift temples, wooden chapels and open-air altars reinforced the king's role as guarantor of the Nile's inundation and protector against chaos. Funerary practices in Narmer's tombs at Abydos introduce us to the nascent Egyptian belief in afterlife, where the king's ka received offerings at chapels long before the pyramids rose. By tracing the evolution of royal titulary and temple architecture, we'll see how Narmer's reign laid the groundwork for the cult of Osiris. Monumental construction: palaces, fortresses, and funerary complexes. The assertion of centralized authority under Narmer found its most visible expression in construction projects that transformed the Nile Valley's landscape. Rather than ephemeral mud brick hamlets, new administrative centers rose on raised platforms, stone foundations topped with timber and reed superstructures that signaled royal presence. In Hierakonpolis, Narmer commissioned a massive fortification wall, its remnants still visible today, designed both to protect the royal precinct and to impress visiting emissaries with the king's power. At Abydos, a grand enclosure known as the Fort of Narmer enclosed chapels and storage magazines, demonstrating the fusion of military, religious, and economic functions in a single complex. Tomb construction also evolved. Elite burials shifted from simple pig graves to subterranean chambers with axial corridors and offerings rooms, prefiguring the mastaba tombs of the First Dynasty. Warfare and diplomacy, conquests, alliances, and border security. Narmer's unification campaign was as much about military innovation as it was about alliances and diplomacy. His armies likely combined chariot-borne archers, protected by light shields, with infantry wielding flint-tipped spears, tactics refined through skirmishes along the Nubian border and delta marshes. Sealed inscriptions and painted battle scenes in the temples of later pharaohs hint at Narmer's use of shock charges, where infantry formations advanced under archery cover to break enemy lines. Yet Narmer also forged alliances through diplomacy, marriages into lower Egyptian elite families, gift exchanges with Levantine rulers, and temporary truce settlements recorded on perfumed wood tags found in mine archives. To secure frontier regions, he established a chain of outposts, mud brick fortresses at strategic wadis and oases, manned by mixed garrisons of Egyptian spearmen and allied mercenaries. Legacy and succession. From Narmer to the First Dynasty. Narmer's reign marked the dawn of dynastic Egypt, but it also set in motion patterns of succession, legitimacy, and royal ideology that shaped the First Dynasty and beyond. His immediate successors, Aha, Jur, and Djet, continued to expand state institutions, adopting Narmer's regnal titles and continuing his building programs, ensuring dynastic continuity. Royal tombs at Abydos, with names inscribed on ivory tags alongside those of Narmer, underscore the deliberate crafting of genealogy and memory. Lineage, rather than conquest alone, became the key to legitimate rule. The early dynastic kings institutionalized the office of the High Priest of Horus, first held by Narmer himself, ensuring that the king's divine association endured. Meanwhile, queen consorts like Mernith began to appear as regents, evidenced by royal tombs bearing their own mortuary cult provisions, prefiguring the later prominence of female pharaohs. These developments illustrate how Narmer's achievements were not isolated feats but the opening chapter of a royal saga, one that wove together military prowess, religious authority, and dynastic myth to sustain Egypt's unity for centuries to come. If you've been captivated by this exploration of Egypt's founding monarch, subscribe to History Facts and Mysteries for more journeys into the dawn of civilization, and share your thoughts on what questions about Narmer you'd most like us to investigate next.